What's up, everybody? There's a lot to get into for the Stephen A. Smith Show today. There's some NFL action. There's some NBA action. I get all of that. I saw the Dallas Cowboys getting romped. Nothing but pleasure brought to my eyes after watching that beatdown. Make no mistake about it. But I'm not going to lie. I'm a bit tainted this morning because I've been waiting to touch on a subject for the last few days. Something that I didn't like, something that I didn't appreciate, and something I'm not joking about either. And it has nothing to do with sports. Hell, I don't even want to say it has something to do with politics. It has something to do with former President Barack Obama. Yes, it's true. We ain't on the same page on a particular matter. Let me pause and think about what I want to say before I say it. Stephen A. Smith Show in the house. Let's roll. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do at the very least 3 days a week over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. As always, I take a moment to pause just to show my love and appreciation to all of my followers and subscribers out there. We've now eclipsed over 880,000 subscribers. We continue to climb every single day. That wouldn't be possible if it were not for the love and support that you all give me. This show wouldn't be anything without you all. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart to continue to support the show the way that you have been doing so, not just here, but on iHeartRadio as well, where we've eclipsed over 3 million downloads. Thank you so much for that love and support. Keep it coming, as always, like I tell you, and I'm going to keep on coming. To continue to like and follow the show, just click the bell, and you too shall be the latest member of the Stephen A. Smith Show family. And while you're doing that, please don't hesitate to get a copy of my New York Times best-selling memoir, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes, now in paperback, by the way. Just go to straightshooterbook.com to get yourself a copy. Once again, that's straightshooterbook.com. And just as an aside, my production company, it used to be called Mr. SAS, Scripted and Unscripted Content, docuseries and things of that nature. I changed the name of it a couple of months ago to Straight Shooter, naming it after my book itself. Straight Shooter Media, Straight Shooter Productions, Straight Shooter Incorporated, Straight Shooter, all of that stuff. So I just want you to all know that. Moving forward, Straight Shooter is identified with yours truly. Before I get into some sports, because obviously there's a lot of sports items that I want to get into, along with some other items for today's show, I have to get started with some politics because I've had something on my mind that I've been holding in for the last few days or so, and I'm not going to hold it in anymore. It's specifically the presidential election, which is just over 2 weeks away. National polls show former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris essentially in a dead heat heading towards November 5th. Both campaigns were on the trail over the last week or so, including this weekend, including some of their surrogates as well. And for Kamala Harris, that would include former President Barack Obama, who hit the trail stumping for Democrats. The former president made headlines this weekend, actually a few days before this weekend as well, speaking to a forum of black men in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Obama spoke directly to all men who may be considering not voting or voting for Donald Trump in this election cycle. Before I go any further, I want you to hear exactly what this man had to say.
I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. And so now you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down. That's not acceptable.
Respectfully, President Obama, what you said is not acceptable. I'm going to say it again. Respectfully, what you said is not acceptable. not to me, not to a host of black men out there who's not even thinking about voting for Donald Trump. What you said is unacceptable. I'll tell you why in a minute. But before I do that, I want to go to Khalil Thompson, co-founder and executive director of Win with Black Men, who responded to criticism of Obama's comments. Take a look at what he had to say here. Quote, I believe President Obama is speaking to a tangible, visceral understanding of what it means for all men to relate to women in America. Calling out misogyny is not wrong, end quote. To co-founder Khalil Thompson, you're wrong too. And what you said is unacceptable. You see, what you're missing is that you're basically accusing black men who come up with a reason to not support Kamala Harris as engaging in misogyny. Whatever happened to disagreeing without being disagreeable, President Obama? What happened to that? All of a sudden, we want to challenge men and our love and our affection as black men for black women. We want to bring that into question because we've got an election coming up and people may have the temerity to think differently than you. It's because she's a woman that she's in danger of losing this election? Didn't Hillary Clinton win the popular vote in 2016? Didn't she get over 2.8 million more votes than Donald Trump in the popular vote for the 2016 election? Last time I checked, she's a woman. Are we there sitting here and implying that black men would be more apropos to support a white woman than a black woman? Is that what we're saying? Is that what we're saying? It's a rhetorical question because it makes no sense to me. Before I go even further, let's hear more from Mr. Khalil Thompson himself. Quote, we're not a monolith. However, we are just like every other American in this country who wants a good paying job that we can provide for our children and participate in their lives and the lives of our partner, that we can get them home safely, afford to go to the grocery store, save a little for retirement, and have a vacation. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that explanation, Khalil Thompson. Why didn't you say that from the jump? What's up with the misogyny comments? I will have you know, and President Obama, our 44th president of the United States, who I voted for not once but twice, who was the president from 2009 to 2017, who to me was exemplary, who to me had the greatest first lady in the history of this country, who has been a phenomenal role model to black people and to black men and the men across this globe. That same Barack Obama, how could you say something like that? How could you ignore the facts that are lying in front of all of us? You don't want Trump to be president. We think that Trump could be an unmitigated disaster. In my opinion, he'll be on a revenge tour. In my opinion, there's a lot of things he bloviated about and didn't deliver on. We don't want to get into too much about COVID. We don't want to get in too much about him overblowing his contribution to HBCUs, the wall that he was going to build, and the Mexican was going to pay for it. He ended up building 2% of the wall, and the Mexicans didn't pay a dime. We could get into a whole bunch of stuff about him. That's a given. I understand that. But let's get back to the part about black men. That's what we're going to talk about right now. That's what we're going to talk about. President Obama, why didn't you tell the folks with the cameras rolling and the black men in attendance that there's been diminishing black voters, particularly black men, since you were in office? In 2008, 95% of the black populace voted for Barack Obama. It dipped in 2012 by about 6 to 8%. It dipped another 6% in 2016 when Hillary was running. It dipped even more in 2020 when Trump ran against Biden. It's been dipping since 2008. It didn't just start. Was that about misogyny? Was that about a hesitancy to support our women? I am getting sick and tired of black men being raked through the coals because of some imagery of not being supportive of black women. Do you know what most black men would do if they saw a black woman getting harmed in the streets? They put their lives on the line for that sister. We talked about the absence of black fathers in the past. What do we do simultaneously? We applaud the mothers who've uplifted us, who've nurtured us, who've made us into who we are. I can make an argument. No one loves women, particularly black women, more than black men. No one. You must know this. Black men support the Democratic Party more than everyone but black women. That means we support the Democratic Party more than white women, more than white men, more than Latino women, more than Latino men, more than Asian women, more than Asian men. Nobody, in terms of percentage, supports the Democratic Party more than black people. Black women first, black men second. Even as we sit here today, as Kamala Harris is neck and neck with Donald Trump, she's getting at least 80% of the black vote, according to the polls. And if there's a question mark about her, why don't we tell the truth? It may very well have nothing to do with her, per se, but what she has inherited. You have a president in Joe Biden who has his own history. Don't get me started with the crime bill of 1994. We want to bring up Trump in the 70s and rent control and all and denying rent to black folks. We don't want to bring up Biden and how he got along with segregationists in the 70s. We don't want to bring up how Kamala Harris, then a presidential candidate in 2020, called him out for his support of segregationists when it came to busing. We want to ignore that. You don't think black people heard that? You don't think there's some trepidation in the hearts and the minds of black people from time to time? At least from the past? Not even talking about what he's done during this administration, which some people will believe his policies and his heart have been in the right place in some of their eyes. You're President Obama. How do you ignore that? Inflation, the cost of living, the price of gas, the price of groceries. That don't matter? Folks ain't paying attention to that? Immigration and our borders. And this belief that there's an elevated level of sensitivity towards them, as opposed to black folks struggling, if not starving in this country. Yes, that plays a role too. I brought it up right here on this show. When the mayor of New York was talking about $53 million in prepaid credit cards for immigrants who came across our borders illegally and having prepaid credit cards for them. And I said, wait a minute, black folks been starving for years. We ain't get that. You don't think they notice? You don't think they notice? Is it possible that the only reason some black folks, not me, but some black folks may not be inclined to vote, or they may be a bit disenchanted, or dare I say may even be willing to go as far as voting for Trump? Is it possible that it's policy as opposed to misogyny? Is it possible that they've looked at a Democratic Party that is locked in on addressing or not addressing immigration and folks crossing the borders illegally, and have prioritized focusing on that, along with other issues, identity politics and beyond, that has become such a focal point that has turned off folks in the African American community. Some, not most, not all, just some. Is that possible? And is it possible that that is the reason why even Kamala Harris herself has become a bit more assertive in addressing the issue of immigration, in addressing the economy, in addressing a plan for Black America as it pertains to facilitating more business loans for minority ownership and things of that ilk? Is it possible that Black folks, particularly Black men, more so than the Black women, who you look at Roe v. Wade and the women's rights and what have you, in Trump's position, they're like, he's got no chance in hell of luring them in. But is it possible that when it comes to the men are saying, wait a minute, get all that, but what you gonna do for us? Could it be the issues as opposed to just misogyny? You know the answer to that question better than me, Barack Obama. The right may have a problem with you. Folks on the left, Democrats, progressives, you're revered. As a Black man who is an independent, you are an incredible role model and somebody that I have admired for years. But to say that to Black men, to attribute their hesitancy, their reluctance, their reticence to support Kamala Harris, to you just don't want to support a woman, really? Respectfully, sir, that's messed up. That's a messed up thing to accuse Black men of, when you know good and damn well there are a plethora of reasons for us to point to than that to justify our apprehension. Doesn't mean you ain't gonna vote for her. Doesn't mean you don't want her to win. But my Lord, is it a crime to not be ultra excited when you see some of the choices that are before us, and you see the decisions that have been made and the messages that have been disseminated? A Black man asking, what about us, is not a crime. It's not misogyny. It's us exercising our rights as American citizens to question why you should have our support, which you yourself as the president for 8 years told us we had every right to do. That's all I'm gonna say for now. Love me some Barack Obama. Always have, always will. Just very disappointed that you would say that to Black men who are a bit apprehensive. I'm voting for Kamala, so you weren't talking to me. But still, it's not right for you to say that, sir. It's just wrong. Coming up, the Cowboys get blown out, the NFC North is strong, and Deshaun Watson has hit a new low with the Cleveland Browns. Actually, I don't know why the hell I brought up Deshaun Watson. I'm tired of talking about him because they're on a trip to nowhere in Cleveland. But that ain't all I'm going to get into with the one and only Cris Carter. He's up next right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube, and of course, iHeartRadio. I want to take a second to let you all know that with the baseball playoffs in full swing, NFL games filling up my Sundays, and the NBA season right around the corner, I could not be more excited. But what is even more exciting is that Prize Picks wants to help you cash in on every single one of those big-time games. You see, Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app where you can pick 2 or more of your favorite players, and then you simply select more or less on their projected stats for the game. Pick one player's rushing yards, another's rebounds, and even another's total hits, all in the same entry. I make my picks and submit early, all in less than 60 seconds. Then I sit back, enjoy the games, and watch all that big-time money roll in. And get this, sign up with code SAS, and Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't need to win your lineup to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. All you have to do is play a $5 lineup on Prize Picks, and you'll get $50 instantly. Pick more, pick less. It's really, really that easy. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airways of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. We got to get right into the NFL and the headlines from Week 6 with a regular right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. All he did was catch touchdown passes. He's a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest wide receivers in the National Football League history, the one and only Cris Carter. Cris, I mean, you were a little bit late getting to the show today, and they would talk about technical difficulties and all of that stuff. I happen to know that was a lie. I happen to know that you was hiding. I happen to know that you were hesitant to come on today's show because when you saw the Detroit Lions whip those Cowboys' ass the way that they did, you said, damn, I'm not in much of a position to come talking some smack about those Minnesota Vikings. Ain't that the real reason you were delayed?
No, I got respect for what's going on in Detroit.
Okay.
Now, this has been the old school way to build the team. First, you get a coach that people believe in, little unorthodox style, but old school. We're going to bring our lunch pail. We're going to be biting ankles. Everybody laughed and everything. Now, Dallas understands what biting ankles means. So I got plenty of respect for what they've done. How the rebirth of Jared Goff and his career there in Detroit, the weapons that they have in Detroit, that was spectacular. I think that's one of the best overall performance by any football team we've seen. But you cannot discuss Detroit without discussing Aiden Hutchinson and the horrific injury that he had, because people like him, they can't be replaced. That defense was just starting to have some bite. Yes, they can score points. But now, see, this team might be like the 98 Vikings, run through the regular season offensively, but defense around the middle of the pack. I don't believe that's going to be good enough in the long run. But you're right about the Lions.
I'm going to get to the Lions a little bit more in a second because that Hutchinson injury, I'm going to ask you about that and the impact that I expect that to have on them. I get all of that, CC, but I got to tell you something, man. I am not satisfied with your response. You are not giving me the passion and the laughter that I need when it comes to that ass whipping those Dallas Cowboys took. I mean, that was an ass whipping, okay? I mean, we see people lose games every single week. It's rare we see folks get punked the way that they did, get beat at the line of scrimmage. We got colleagues and contemporaries in the business calling football players soft. That's what they're saying about these Dallas Cowboys. That's what a lot of people are seeing, CC. What did you see from the Cowboys?
Okay. I've heard all the analysts. I've heard what you talked about offensively and defensively, the deficits at home, getting smacked at home. But the worst was after the game, Stephen A. And not only on Jerry's birthday, that was not the type of present this team is supposed to give that man at 82. But Dak Prescott, when he got to the podium and said, I'm not going to hit the panic button.
Oh, my Lord.
You know what? When he was on his first contract and he was trying to make a name for himself, he would have pushed the panic button now. But now that he got that $230 million guaranteed, I saw the outfit he had on, body looking nice, haircut nice and fresh, but that performance and that type of leadership afterwards, it's time to hit the panic button. I'm so panicked right now, man. You're not getting ready to believe what I'm getting ready to tell you. I'm ready to entertain Bill Belichick as the coach.
What?
I'm willing to stop being the general manager. I'm willing to stop because this team stinks. And Bill Belichick, his overall leadership and knowledge of football, it's time to break the glass. It's an emergency. 5 alarms, Stephen. Bring in Belichick. That is
When?
the only
When?
thing.
Whoa. When? When are you talking about bringing in Bill Belichick? Next season? When?
Yes, we're going to bring him in, but you got to realize the Jets are already looking for a coach. They're going to be 5 or 6 teams looking for a coach.
Then don't that mean
And
you
Bill
got to grab?
Belichick will
Don't
get
that mean
a
you need to
job.
grab him now? Don't that mean you need to grab him now?
You need to entertain it. You need to entertain it. Man, if you don't get through the month of November, I mean, with the Dallas schedule, man, anybody can beat them right now. Shoot, college teams be lining up to play the Cowboys right now. They can't stop the run, can't run the football, stop CD Lamb. What else they gonna do to you?
I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys right now. You bring up Dak Prescott. I'm going to start calling him Zoolander. He looked like the male model. The cut was fresh. The outfit was nice. I mean, he looked all stealth and everything. Looking damn good. Looking like he going to have a nice time after games, no matter what the hell they do on that football field. And that's the damn problem. But I will combat you with this. I don't agree with you on this point. You said that before he got his contract, he would have hit the panic button. Nah. The Dak Prescott that I see at the podium talking to the media after losses like this is the same Dak Prescott I've always seen, CC. I think that's part of the damn problem. There never seems to be a bit of urgency. He always says the right things, but he damn sure doesn't always do the right things.
Listen, Dak is in a situation that if he does not play spectacular football, his team is not going to win the game. So what he's going to say after these games, he's going to run out of excuses. Like, you can only lose so many different ways. You can only get embarrassed at home. And, I mean, we thought this was the same team. It's not the same team. Man, they used to be dominant at home. They used to be super explosive on the offensive side. This is not the same team. Even on paper, they brought back the same team.
I look at Derrick Henry as maybe being the luckiest dude in the National Football League. He's in Baltimore making noise, running roughshod, had another 132 yards rushing yesterday against the Commanders in Baltimore's victory over them. The brother is getting touchdowns every single week. He's a fantasy football person's dream. He's balling right now. Had he gone to Dallas, running behind that offensive line, his career might be in danger. That's how bad Dallas is.
But sometimes you need God to close doors. Everywhere is not a blessing. Even Dallas, all the glitz and glamour, even though you live in that town. No, man. You need to go to Baltimore, because guess what Baltimore knows? They know physicality. They teach that every year. Any hardball team, the dad through the sons, is a physical team. If they got grandkids coaching football right now in Little League, that's a physical football team. That's the way they're going to play. It's hard to teach that in the National Football League. So I told you earlier in the season, don't be surprised with a slow start with the big fella in Baltimore. Not a lot of tackling in the preseason. Let them figure out his style. But Baltimore, and with Lamar playing the best football, now scrambling with his eyes still down the field, this is the best Lamar. Not the first MVP, not the second MVP. This is the best Lamar. So Baltimore, yes, they're fortunate. They're fortunate Jerry and them couldn't come up with that money. So now he ends up in Baltimore, and man, what a explosive combination they are.
Let me switch back to the NFC North in this respect. So you got the Vikings undefeated. You got the Detroit Lions looking in some people's eyes like the best team in football. The Chicago Bears, just blitzed the Jacksonville Jaguars. Don't get me started with the Jaguars. The only thing going for Trevor Lawrence is his hair commercials. Outside of that, ain't nothing going on good in Jacksonville, for crying out loud, okay? We've got that going on, and of course, Green Bay. This could arguably be the best division in the sport right now. Tell me how you encapsulate all of this that you've been seeing from the NFC North teams, and what do you see coming out of it? Is it the Lions? Is it the Vikings? What are you seeing at this particular moment in time, CC? And I need objectivity, say, not that purple people eater waving the pom-poms, okay? I need objectivity here.
Listen, the people that produce your show, they know it's Purple Rain this year. That's why they got purple on the back. So I don't have to wear purple all the time. All of this stuff behind me is because of the purple. People understand that. But I'm a recognizer of good football, and especially quarterback play. Caleb Williams in Chicago, what they did over in London, it was special. The last 3 games, he's starting to live up to what they thought he could do. Key person getting healthy. My man Keenan Allen in that slot is nasty. He one of the most underrated football players the last 10 years. Now he brings his act to Chicago to be able to help out the rookie. You could see the difference in London with him getting healthy. Green Bay, they finally have their quarterback healthy, and their defense, I believe, is going to be a top 10 defense. So it's going to be about defense eventually. The Vikings top 10, Detroit's not going to be able to stay in that top 10 because of the injury, and Chicago's going to have a top 10 defense. But I would say right now, because of the quarterback play of Jared Goff, I would give a slight edge to the Detroit Lions. But guess what? We're getting ready to work that out on the field next week. So my opinion ain't going to matter, because next week we're going hit the head, let it fall where it needs to fall.
There you go again. But I will say this. Detroit's got 2 running backs, both for over 300 yards, Montgomery and Gibbs and what have you. I'm looking at their dual run. They got dual threat at the running back spot. They got a dual threat at the wide receiver spot in Williams and obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown. You got Laporte at the tight end spot and Goff playing lights out. I'm looking at the weapons, and once upon a time, I thought that Minnesota was the team with the bevy of weapons because of Jefferson and Addison and what have you. But I'm looking at the Detroit Lions right now, and that culture that Dan Campbell has instilled in that team. And I got to tell you something. I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing from them, see?
Yeah, but when you don't have to double team an Aiden Hutchinson, when you can have our tight end, TJ Hawkinson from Detroit, he'll be playing in next week's game. When you can have him release and get into the pattern, they still don't have a Justin Jefferson. Okay, Jordan Addison is a better complement, all right, than anyone that they have there. And I know Jameson Williams is starting to emerge, but Addison is a better all-around receiver. So now with that offensive line that we have, we match up well. You have to double team Jefferson. So now it's a numbers count. We get a lot of single matchups, and with Aaron Jones, if he's able to avoid a serious hip injury and able to run the football, Don is going to see nothing but man-to-man. So that's one. It's a matchup, man. And now with Aiden being out, that's a huge component to who's going to win this division.
Let's transition to the South with the Bucks and the Falcons right now. I'm done with New Orleans. I mean, you give up 51 points yesterday. I'm done with you, okay? I know you don't have Derek Carr, there's your quarterback, but still, I mean, damn, talk about getting ran roughshod over. That's what happened to them yesterday. I've lost all faith in them. We know that Carolina's the worst team in football. It comes down to the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who dropped 51 on New Orleans yesterday. Baker Mayfield throwing touchdown passes. Mike Evans didn't even have a big game, but Chris Godwin did. You know Todd Bowles knows how to coach that defense, even though that second quarter didn't look so great. What are your thoughts about what you're seeing in the AFC, in the NFC South, particularly from Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Man, you have to respect what he's doing. I think 17 touchdown passes. Godwin seemed like he got reemerged as that second guy. Now, their ability to be able to score the football, you're going to always have a chance. In that division, really only competition is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. But Baker Mayfield and his ability to be able to find a landing spot after having traumatic things happen as a starting quarterback, most franchise quarterbacks, especially #1 pick in the draft, former Heisman trophies, they don't bounce back. Once they lose that first starting franchise, they don't ever get the keys to another city, to another franchise. And that's what Todd Bowles has been able to do with Baker Mayfield. It's almost impossible to resurrect a quarterback that has had real success and real trauma as far as the quarterback position, as far as people giving up on him. Baker Mayfield has found that. That's magical to be able to find. And then this year, when the South is down, I believe they emerge and win that division there. And they're the only team I believe going to make it to the playoff.
You know, I'm going to go to the NFC East only in this regard. I'm looking at the Commanders. This kid, Jaden Daniels. Listen, Baltimore won the game yesterday, but he wasn't awful. He showed up. The Commanders were formidable. I'm thinking they still got a legitimate shot to win the division. I don't know what the hell Nick Sirianni was doing talking smack to Philadelphia Eagles fans, but I didn't mind it that much. Other people did. What are you seeing in the NFC East? I think it's safe to say, after watching the Dallas Cowboys wet the bed yesterday, that this division is going to come down to the Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles. What did you see and what do you believe in terms of who's going to win that division?
First of all, Nick Sirianni yelling at a Philly fan. I mean, in Philly, you know, I played 3 years there in Philly. Every time me and Randall Cunningham warmed up before the game, they booed him to death. They called him all kind of things. I used to be catching the ball next to Cunningham, and the guy is booing. I come from Ohio State. This stuff is foreign to me. But that is some. Do you remember the name Rich Kotite?
Yes.
That's some old Rich Kotite.
Former head coach for the Eagles and the Jets. He was not good.
And arguably one of the worst head coaches in the history of the NFL. Those type of coaches are yelling at the fans where your team didn't play well. I heard Bill Belichick talk about one time in New England, they won like 20 games in a row. And he took a knee at halftime and the fans booed him.
Wow.
He said, that's par for the course. That's what you're supposed to expect. So to me, regardless of what Philly looks like on the field, he loses the press conference every week. He looks like an amateur. He looks like a guy trying out for the job. He looks like an interim head coach. So for me, I was very, very disappointed about that. The team does not look good. And losing Kelsey, you can see it in the press conference after the game. You can see in the lack of leadership on that offense.
The center.
Losing Kelsey.
The center. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to devalue him, but it does make sense. Now I see what Jalen Hurts is talking about, but I'm kind of wondering how the quarterback allowed a situation and how the head coach allowed the situation where the center is the voice of the whole damn team, and without him, y'all seem lost and discombobulated. That don't make sense to me, see?
Listen, bro, that offensive line, we never give them any credit. But you got a dude at center. I'm talking about a dude at center. This is just like Jeff Saturday, man. Man, these ain't no regular guys, man. They keep all their linemen together. They are the most intelligent, typically besides the quarterback, on the football team. And you can see by his personality, the stuff he's doing off the field, that he's a special guy. You don't just take that out of the locker room and just replace it, man. That's why we're talking about the offensive lineman, bro. Hey, man, you better give them some respect, man. Smartest group on the team and underrated in every freaking aspect. And you watch this Philly team, they will miss his leadership throughout this season.
Before I let you get on out of here, who's the best team in football right now?
Give it to me. Best team in football, man.
Best team in football. Who is it? Who is it?
Kansas City Chiefs. Because their algorithms, they can win more games, more different ways. They got the best coach in football in Andy Reid. Special teams, 100%. Defense, Spagnuolo, he knows his personnel. Kansas City, put some respect on it, man. Back to back, trying for back, 3 in a row.
Best running back in football is who?
Best running back. Man, I gotta go to the kid from Atlanta, man. He's nice, man. He's so nice.
Who?
Robinson. To me, Robinson. He's the best running back. I would take him over anybody in the NFL. He's got speed. He runs between the tackles. Great receiver out of the backfield. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I would ask you the best.
Who would you take?
I was
Who
going to say Derrick Henry. I ain't going to lie to you. I was going to say Derrick Henry. I mean, he's just a man amongst boys. I'm just looking at him right now. He's just a man amongst boys. That's just how I feel about him. You know, I can't say enough about him. I would ask you who the best wide receiver is, but I ain't wasting my time with your obvious answer. We all know you're gonna go Justin Jefferson. We all know we ain't gonna think about it at all. So I'm just gonna leave it alone, man. All right? I'm gonna let you get on out of here. I ain't gonna even let you answer that damn question. How about that? Because I know what you're gonna say.
They wear purple. They do stuff like this.
Here we go. There you go. CC, love you, bro. Talk to you next week, my man. Thanks so much. You take it easy. Coming up, the WNBA Finals are underway to record audiences. Plus, former Knick Donte DiVincenzo returns to Madison Square Garden and makes noise. I'll get into all of that. Plus, a little trick with my A-list. Got a special A-list I want to reveal to you that I revealed on my day job earlier. You'll like it. It's worth replaying. Stephen A. Smith Show in the house. Back with more in a moment. What does the future hold for business? Ask 9 experts and you'll get 10 answers. It's a bull market. It's a bear market. Rates will rise or fall. Inflation's up or down. Can someone invent a crystal ball, please? Until then, over 38,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one fluid platform. With one unified business management suite, there's one source of truth, giving you the visibility and control you need to make quick decisions. With real-time insights and forecasting, you're peering into the future with actionable data. When you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backwards and more time on what's next. Whether your company is earning millions or even hundreds of millions, NetSuite helps you respond to immediate challenges and seize your biggest opportunities. Download the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning for free at netsuite.com/SAS. That's netsuite.com/SAS. I'll say it one more time. netsuite.com/SAS. Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show right here over the digital airwaves of YouTube and, of course, iHeartRadio. Let's get to some quick hitters because I can't let you down with that. We'll start with the WNBA where the finals are underway between the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty. The series is now tied 1-1. Though many believe it really should be 2-0. Liberty blew that lead when they collapsed at the end of Game 1. That game, by the way, was the most watched finals Game 1 ever, topping more than 1 million viewers. Game 3 is Wednesday night on ESPN. It's a big deal to talk about the most watched WNBA finals game ever. You know why? Because I've been telling you about the Caitlin Clark impact. It's nice to see something other than Caitlin Clark having a profound influence on the ratings. As Sue Bird accurately pointed out last week or so, absolutely there's been an increase in the ratings and what have you, and we get all of that. I was just saying it wasn't to the degree of Caitlin Clark being on that basketball court and people watching her, but nevertheless, rising tide lifts all boats. Even without her, the ratings have continued to grow, and the finals game, over 1 million viewers, particularly when they're having games while NFL games are going on or Major League Baseball playoff games are going on, says an absolutely awful lot about the WNBA and its ascension. Major props to them. Keep it going, ladies. Keep it going. Next up, I got to get to this one right here. Quick hitter number 2 takes us preseason action, NBA basketball at Madison Square Garden between the Knicks and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The game marked the return of former New York Knicks Julius Randle, who sat out, and Donte DiVincenzo, who made headlines. DiVincenzo was chirping at the Knicks bench, specifically head coach Tom Thibodeau, appearing to say, quote, "This is what happens when they let you run the show," end quote. You may recall DiVincenzo and Randle were traded 2 weeks ago for Karl Anthony Towns. After the game, DiVincenzo denied talking smack to Coach Tibbs. Take a listen to this.
I didn't say thanks for the trade.
Oh, what did you say?
I didn't say thanks for the trade. It was about to finish. I was joking with Tibbs about not being able to finish in my time. I wasn't talking to Tibbs. I saw the clip. I wasn't talking to Tibbs. I didn't say anything about the trade.
He's lying. He's lying through his damn teeth. But I ain't mad at him. Because if you were talking to Tibbs, no big deal. You know what? That just makes for spirited competition when you all go up against one another. I was enthralled watching Anthony Edwards hitting threes from all over the place because I said, my God, he keep playing like that, he going to win league MVP. He's going to bust a few people's ass. Make no mistake about that. But Donte DiVincenzo, if he want to clap back at them, I don't blame him one bit. He came in and did a hell of a job for the New York Knicks last year. He definitely did. I personally, as much as I love Karl Anthony Towns being a member of the New York Knicks, but I got love for Julius Randle too, and I think he'll do well in Minnesota. But as much love as I got for Cat coming to the New York Knicks, I did not want the Knicks to lose DiVincenzo. I thought if you had Cat, but you still got a guy like DiVincenzo coming off the bench, able to do some things for you, I think it could spell trouble for a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference, mainly the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. That's right, I said it. DiVincenzo can be that dude, make no mistake about it. He came in, won a playoff game, that big-time shot in Game 2 against Philadelphia, saved the series as far as I'm concerned. Give love and respect and credit where it's due. He made a tremendous contribution to the New York Knicks, and he shouldn't have been cast aside or shifted or relegated to the bench just because Mikal Bridges had arrived. I'm not saying that he should play ahead of Bridges because I love me some Bridges, but in the same breath, DiVincenzo is a guy that should be vastly more appreciated than it appeared he was. And so for him speaking the way that he spoke, there is no question he was talking to Tibbs. Rick Brunson, you saw step up and say something to him because Rick Brunson's a real one. We know this. But DiVincenzo had a right to feel a bit salty for Tibbs. He's probably denying it. because he doesn't want to bring extra attention, but it is what it is. I say, why deny it? Why not own it? Then you go out there and you play against them and you see what you do against them when you face the New York Knicks during the regular season. That's the way I look at it, but that's his choice. On to the next one. We got to get to President Barack Obama again, who named his all-time NBA starting five while promoting the new Netflix series Starting Five. I'll let you listen to President Obama's list, and I'll share my thoughts on the other side. Here you go.
I'm basketball fan Barack Obama. I'm going to talk about my favorite starting five. If I just put together a team where I would enjoy watching it and I think they'd beat anybody. I'm from Chicago. MJ, Michael Jordan at shooting guard. I'd put LeBron at point forward. A bunch of times he'd be bringing up the ball and he'd be distributing. He'd basically be doing some of the stuff that he did recently in the Olympics, and that is a pretty good approximation of what Magic Johnson could do. But I want a little shooting and a little flair. I'm going to put my friend Steph Curry into the mix because we're in the three-point era, and he is the greatest shooter of all time, bar none. At center, I'm going to put Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, whose game I think translates to today's game. He was such an amazing athlete, an anchor on defense. He's going to give you everything you need out of the center position. This last spot is tough, but I think, especially given today's game, I've got to go with Kevin Durant, KD, who may be the most efficient, effective scorer in the history of basketball. I'm feeling pretty good about that five, beating just about anybody.
That's a damn good list. That's a damn good list. I can't deny it. The former president of the United States of America, I know I expressed some unflattering feelings towards him in the top of the show, but right here, I got to give love, respect, where it's due. That's a damn good list on the part of President Obama. But I got a little caveat I'm gonna throw out there, a little alteration per se. We definitely gonna go with Michael Jordan. Okay, first of all, not just because of his greatness, but his attitude. All right, I need a dude that'll cut your heart out on that basketball court. I don't need the hugging and singing and hugging and kumbayas that Steph Curry and LeBron James do with one another. Nah, I don't need that. I need an assassin out there. I need somebody who wants to sit up there and do everything he can to beat you. I'm going with MJ. I don't mind LeBron James at point forward at all. If Scottie Pippen could do that for Michael Jordan when they were playing, I'm good with LeBron doing it, okay? I'm good with that, all right? Steph Curry is the greatest shooter God has ever created. There is no debate about that. So you definitely need shooting in today's game, not to mention his free throw shooting. The last two spots is where it gets interesting. He's not wrong about Kevin Durant. See, what we lament about Kevin Durant is that you had to go to Golden State to win the chip. And then you departed and decided to play with Kyrie Irving instead of staying with Steph Curry. That's the two things you hold against Kevin Durant, and then getting swept in the playoffs. You understand, a couple times over the last 3 years is not very flattering either, okay? But Kevin Durant is still one of the greatest players to have ever graced a basketball court. He is a surefire first ballot future Hall of Famer. He's one of the most prolific scorers we have ever seen at 6'11" with his ball handling and shot making ability. The brother is unstoppable. LeBron could never shoot like Kevin Durant, okay? Not from the field, not from the free throw line, okay? So we got that part, all right? So to have Kevin Durant with LeBron James, with Michael Jordan, with Steph Curry, I'm good with that. Here's where my alteration is, and this is where it gets tricky, and I'm open for debate. You're talking about Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon, a two-time champion, a great defensive player, a Hall of Famer, the Dream Shake and all of that. We know how he abused David Robinson in the playoffs. We know how he abused Patrick Ewing in the finals. We get all of that, right? I still got to go with the Diesel, Shaquille O'Neal. Here's why, y'all. 7'1", 350. Girth, mass, intimidation. You understand? Bodies flying. He hurts people, okay? He hurts people that get in his way. So that's one thing. He wasn't the consistent defensive presence that Akeem the Dream Olajuwon was, but he was very formidable. Certainly wasn't the free throw shooter, career 52% free throw shooter, whereas Olajuwon was damn near 72%. I get that part. I could have picked Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who's got a better resume than anybody from the center position outside of Bill Russell, but I'm not going there. I'm thinking about the dominance, the girth, the mass, the size, the power, the indomitable presence that Shaquille O'Neal was compared with those brothers. It's automatic too. He shot 58% from the field in his career. 58%. Olajuwon was at 52. 58%. Every damn thing was a dunk, for crying out loud. Okay? What you gonna do about that? You gonna foul him. Can't foul him all game. And having him in the low post, you gonna sit up there and leave Steph open. Who you gonna leave open? You gonna leave Steph? You gonna leave KD? You got LeBron, who's gonna be in single coverage. MJ, what you gonna do? Now, it's the same is applicable to Akeem Olajuwon. I get that part. But Shaq, his dominance with that crew, I just would go with Shaq in this one. That's the only place where I would disagree with President Obama. Either one is going to win. Ain't nobody going to beat him. But if I had to, based on the other four dudes you put in the lineup, I would prefer Shaq to Olajuwon. That's just me. That way, it don't matter to me if KD is built like Manute Bol, God rest his soul. It don't matter to me if Steph Curry, you understand, and he's out there flinging threes from all over the place, but you could trip up his ankle and cause an ankle injury or whatever. I'm not worried. You talk about free throws or between KD, Jordan, and Steph Curry, I'm going to make most of my free throws. The only other person that's going to struggle from the free throw line is LeBron, and that's in the 70 percentile. I'm going to go with Shaq, the Diesel. That's just me. Finally, and for our last quick hitter, I want to give props to the 2024 Naismith class that was inducted into the Hall of Fame this past weekend. The class includes Chauncey Billups, Vince Carter, Michael Cooper, Walter Davis, Simone Augustus, Bo Ryan, Charles Smith. Let's not forget Doug Collins. Let's not forget Jerry West. I want to say this. I spent years, as fond as I am of him as a player, I've spent years being critical of Vince Carter in this regard. I thought if Vince Carter had the killer instincts of an MJ or a Kobe Bryant, he would have won multiple championships his damn self. I think Vince Carter was that great of a talent. Vince Carter is the best in-game dunker I've ever seen. Better than Dr. J, better than Michael Jordan, better than Kobe Bryant, better than anybody that I've seen as an in-game dunker. He will dunk on your mug in a heartbeat. Just ask Alonzo Mourning, ask a whole bunch of people. Vince Carter was special. And a human highlight reel, spectacular. But he played over 20 years in the NBA. Great guy, great character guy, all-star caliber player, box office, etc. All of those things were true. And when you look, even though he didn't win a championship, when you look at some of the people in the Hall of Fame, the Chris Mullins, the Chris Webbers of the world, and others, look, Vince Carter belongs in there. It's nice to see Tracy McGrady, his cousin, by his side, too, at the Hall of Fame ceremony. My man Chauncey Billups, he was the leader of that Detroit Pistons crew that won a championship and went back-to-back NBA Finals. And if Rasheed Wallace doesn't forget to guard Robert Horry in the damn left corner, okay, then they might have won back-to-back titles in that Game 5 loss they had. Okay, so they might have won back-to-back titles. Doug Collins was a fabulous coach. Jerry West is the logo. Michael Cooper, one of the greatest sixth men to have ever played the game of basketball. Magic Johnson in attendance for his ceremony as well. Michael Jordan in attendance. Mad love and respect to all of these guys. They deserve our reverence and respect. I'm really, really happy for them. Chauncey Billups, I was real happy for him as well. So I want to leave it at that. Let me go to the screen over here for some tweets before I take your calls and get on out of here for the day. Let's go to this, please, right now. Let's go to some tweets right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Go to the first tweet right here, okay? At Jones to China, Stephen A. Smith, who has more aura, Heisenberg or ASAC Schrader? Listen, I got to go with this right here. Look at the hat. Look at the glasses. You understand? Look at the look right there. He just looks like somebody. I mean, this guy looks evil, and we get all of that. But this guy looks like somebody that's going to hurt you in the court of law. This dude right here, Breaking Bad, he looks like somebody that's going to hurt you on a multitude of levels, inside the courtroom, outside the courtroom, in the streets, in your home, anywhere like that. He just looks like somebody. He looks like a hitman. You understand? If I'm worried about somebody's aura, if somebody's aura scares me, is more intimidating in a sleeper kind of way, I'm going to go with Heisenberg right here. That's what I'm going to do. Next up, what you got? Let's see. At B Wheeler MTG, right? Stephen A. Smith, what is your pack one, pick one in a Magic The Gathering vintage cube draft between Black Lotus and Sol Ring? Pack one, pick one? Magic Gathering vintage cube draft. I'm going to go with this one right here. You know why? We're talking about Magic, right? We're talking about some vintage cube draft, right? Right? Where the hell is this going? This might be taking me to another universe. I don't know where the hell I'm going through here. This looks far more intimidating. This is deceitful and all of that stuff. It could do harm. It could kill you. I get all of that. But this right here, I like this better right now. This seems a bit more imposing. I'm just guessing, but that's how I'm feeling this right here. Next up, what you got here, okay? At Greg, 1-667-693-5420. Stephen A. Smith, if you're at a friend's house and clog the toilet and there's no plunger, what do? Very, very simple. You close the toilet bowl. You call your friend and say, your damn toilet's clogged. I'm very, very sorry that I got some shit up in there, but you didn't tell me your toilet was gonna clog. Do you have a plunger? If not, I suggest you go get one, because I didn't know I was gonna clog the damn thing. I didn't know your toilet was gonna work, my bad, but that's what happened, okay? You ain't got no choice. What if you sit up there and just leave, and then they come into their house and they see you clog their toilet and you never told them? That's very rude. That's very rude, and it's very nasty, and you don't want to be responsible for something like that, okay? So I would tell you that, all right? Okay? But that's it. That's where I'm going with that. Let me get to the calls before I get on out of here, right? That's all the tweets I got for you for this particular day. But it didn't matter because I got your call, so we'll go to that. Let's see here what we've got. We'll go to Harry in Boston, Massachusetts. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Harry? How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Talk to me, Harry. What's going on?
So I think Aaron Rodgers' time on the New York Jets is really a hit to his legacy. And I think that he really should have played in the preseason this year, and that would have helped the team to see what else he has in the tank. Mm-hmm. And I think if he wants to get on that list of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, he's going to have to turn the ship around. And for his sake, maybe that'll change with the coaching staff, but I don't know.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I don't know. If Aaron Rodgers continues to look the way that he's looked, we're not going to be talking about him as a top 5 quarterback of all time. Once upon a time, I thought he was the greatest thrower of the football that I had ever seen at the quarterback position, the greatest talent that I had ever seen at the quarterback position. That included Marino, that included Peyton Manning, that included Elway, that included Dan Fouts, that included Troy Aikman, that included Terry Bradshaw, that included a whole bunch of people throughout the years in terms of strictly talent. That's how I felt about Aaron Rodgers. But the way they've struggled when he was in Green Bay the last few years and 2 playoff losses to San Francisco and stuff like that, that was a problem. And then to see him come to the New York Jets and look the way that he has looked this year and the kind of things that you're hearing about him, it's just not a very flattering thing right now. Patrick Mahomes came along. I knew that that was the best that I had ever seen once Patrick Mahomes arrived on the scene. But in just 6 years, Patrick Mahomes has 3 times as many Super Bowl rings as Aaron Rodgers has achieved in damn near 19 years. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, it's not a good look. It's not something that you could be flattering about. He definitely has something to prove, especially with their defense being the way that it is. There's really no excuse for the Jets offense to be struggling the way that it is. If their offense shows up and gives you anything, the Jets can contend for a Super Bowl because their defense is legit. If they don't get there, it's because of their offense. That's really, really what it comes down to. By the way, the number to call up, as always, is 888-727-5303. That's 888-SAS-5303. Thanks a lot for the call. Harry. Let's go to Canaan. You're live with Stephen A. Canaan in Birmingham, Alabama. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Stephen A? My question to you, is it time to start putting T.J. Watt in the MVP discussion? He's not just the best defensive player, but the best overall player in the NFL.
Well, I don't know about the best overall player in the NFL. I definitely think he's one of, if not the elite defensive player in the game. He's absolutely spectacular. I'm a huge fan of T.J. Watt. His pedigree is there. We all know what he brings to the table. That brother is something special. Make no mistake about it. But you know what? When you see the Cowboys get romped by Detroit, and a week earlier, you couldn't stop them in Pittsburgh when it really, really counted. That doesn't exactly help your resume. So let's get that out of the way first. Secondly, I think that, you know, if a defensive player is going to get strong league MVP consideration, I think his team has to be so elite that we have no choice but to look at him in that regard. And that's not what we're getting from the Pittsburgh Steelers at this particular moment in time. They've won some games. Okay, and major props in them, 4-2 on the season. Justin Fields isn't stinking up the joint. Russell Wilson is yet to play, but we still look at them and we have hope, but not necessarily expectations. We don't think they're better than Baltimore. We don't think they're better than Houston. We don't think they're better than Kansas City. We don't know whether or not they're better than Buffalo. And even Cincinnati, who just started winning, they won last night against the New York Giants, we wonder about them too. And so all of those things come into consideration. When you're talking about a league MVP, for a defensive player, your squad has to be elite for you to warrant that kind of consideration. And I don't think that T.J. Watt has that available to him right now, bro. That's just how I feel about it. All right? Appreciate the call. Let's go to Asa in Little Falls. You're live with Stephen A. What's going on, Asa?
Not much, Stephen A. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Go ahead. What's up? Talk to me.
You know, I just wanted to hear your opinion on, I guess, who's at fault here for this Cowboys dumpster fire as a season, and why can't they be a perennial championship contender?
Oh, is that what you need the answer to? You need the answer to that? I tell you what, I got a treat for you. I got a treat for you, Asa. I got a treat for you. Rather than tell you right now, allow me to re-air what I did during my day job on ESPN's First Take this morning for you. I'll answer that question with this montage of stuff for you right now. Take a look. This is a special day right here. It ain't the typical A-list, because guess what? It ain't that fluid. Because I don't need it to be fluid, okay? This ain't about debate. This ain't about labeling it what's number 5, not number 1, or whatever. It don't matter. I just want to point out, I'm going to take a moment to point it out, the 5 things most wrong with those Dallas Cowboys. You hear me say?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is what we've been waiting for right here. Number 5 on the list. Give it to me. Bam! No running game. Who the hell is Rico Dowdle? When you're running back and your name is Rico, but we don't come back with Suave, it really doesn't move anybody. You got Ezekiel Elliott. He back in the lineup. Did you really expect anything from him? No. And you got a soft offensive line. Give me number 4 on the list, please. Bam! No defense. Need I remind you that it's been 4 straight games you're down by 15 points at least at half? Need I remind you all 3 home games this season you've been down by at least 20? Need I remind you that you've been outscored by 75 points in the first half on your home turf? Need I remind you that the loss yesterday in Big D was the worst home loss since Jerry Jones bought the team in 1989? That's 35 years ago! It's so bad. In Dallas, we call him Alice. We don't even call him Dallas anymore. You got to take the D out of everything. The Alice Cowboys. You hear me, Dio? Give me number 3, please, right now. Bam! Coaching. Now, I try to tell y'all. Y'all were supposed to go out and get Bill Belichick. I tried to tell you that, right? But that damn Mike McCarthy lying to ingratiate himself with owners to get the job. Lying later on to get rid of Kellen Moore so he could call plays. Swearing up and down things were going to be different. He has seen the light of day. Oh, I mean, the epiphany has kicked in. He's going from one camp to another. He's not that archaic individual that Aaron Rodgers was complaining about and then shows up in Big D and same old Mike McCarthy. It ain't top 2, though. Give it to me right here, please. Now, this breaks my heart. Jerry Jones.
Oh, your boy.
It hurt me. I like being on that helicopter. I wanted to be on that yacht. I really, really did. I love seeing him a few weeks ago. I don't root against that man. That's my Libra buddy right there. 82 years old. And I understand that some people might think he deserved better. Damn it, Jerry, I believe you deserve better. Until you put the team together. They ain't the number one reason, though. Jerry Jones is not the number one reason.
What is?
You know what the number one reason for the Dallas Cowboys misery? Give it to me right here. Bam! The fan. What did I tell you? You're disgusting, nauseating, no good. You know what? Y'all make me sick. I tried to tell y'all, right? If it continues like this, I'm going to make a prediction for you. You're going to see Dallas Cowboys fans wearing bags at the games over their head. That is what the Dallas Cowboys have done to that fan base. And that fan base deserves it because they have been annoying American citizens throughout the country for years. They brought this on themselves. Cowboy fans, Jerry Jones coaching, no defense, no running game. That's the A-list. Does that answer your question, Asa? Did I do it for you?
Yes, sir, Stephen A.
I mean,
yes, it does.
Did I leave anything out? Do you have any additional questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
Would you rather watch paint dry or the Cowboys for the rest of the season?
I'd rather watch the Cowboys for the rest of the season. I mean, why?
Fair enough.
I mean, that's a gift that keeps on giving. I got to go, Asa. I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. Have a good one.
Absolutely, I want to watch the Cowboys the rest of the season because it ain't going to be pretty. It ain't going to be pretty. Lord have mercy. That is what we're talking about here. And I think that is an appropriate, and I saw some story about Barry Sanders, the great Barry Sanders, calling out Stephen A. Smith, demanding that I give some love to the Detroit Lions. Sir, you need to watch me on TV more. I called the Lions arguably the best team in football right now. And I think they got a good chance, probably should be the favorites to come out of the NFC right now. Had you watched me, particularly on my birthday, you would have known that, Barry Sanders. You would have known. But I don't need to address it. I'm saying you're a very busy man, and you probably missed it. But you're watching now, ain't you? I got the Lions right now as the favorites in the NFC to come to the Super Bowl. That's it for this edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show. By the way, speaking of my birthday, who is this with?
Happy birthday to you.
Oh, Lord.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Stephen A. Smith. Happy birthday to you. Hey.
Come here, man. Come here. What you doing? Did you eat any of this pizza?
Nah.
You sure?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. You're supposed to be in school, but it's a holiday, right?
Mm-hmm.
You understand? That's the only reason I let you be here this time. I don't want people thinking that I let you here when you're supposed to be in class. You understand? That's why I'm talking to That's why I'm talking to kid, because he don't know. You know, I still haven't forgiven you for admitting that you're a Cowboys fan. How did you like your Cowboys yesterday? That's right. That's right. They got stomped. Are you ready to say over the national airwaves they ain't very good? Say it. Say it. Say it. Uncle.
They're the best.
Even after losing 47-9?
That was just a fluke.
It's a fluke?
Yes, a fluke.
They 3-3.
Fluke.
That's 500 team. They ain't gonna make the playoffs. It's fluke?
Yes.
Fluke. So they just losing and losing and losing. You're going to say fluke, fluke, fluke every week, right?
They're not going to lose next game and the game after that.
Get out of here. See y'all later. Appreciate the love, everybody. Stephen A. signing off. See you in a couple of days.